This is a fight that all fight fans should watch because you really got two executioners in the ring. Excitement-y, excitement-y, excitement.
The year is 2001. Bernard Hopkins is ready to claim his place as a boxing legend in the USA.
This fight means the world for Bernard Hopkins. It means everything. It gives him an opportunity to really prove that he is the best middleweight in the world since the great Ray Robinson.
But before he finally claims his place as a boxing legend, he needs to prove himself against the three-division champion knockout machine known as Felix Trinidad.
What impresses me most about Felix Trinidad is his ability to mentally prepare himself for a fight. He seems to come into every fight knowing what he's doing, knowing how to win.
With 17 title defenses in the welterweight division and a perfect record intact, plus a newfound demolition of the middleweight division with some of his greatest wins, it seems Hopkins was in against his roughest and toughest opponent yet. Welcome back. Tonight it's another in a long line of gritty wars from the executioner that we will be witnessing, in a battle where, though the spotlight often skipped his Philly throne and his brilliance flew under the radar, his cold fury behind those calculating eyes burned hotter than ever, and his thirst to etch his name among the immortals was larger than Muhammad Ali's appetite for trash talk. Let's get into it. Bernard Hopkins' journey, forged in a crucible where one wrong move meant lights out and second chances were a pipe dream, turned a Philly street kid into the executioner with 39 wins and a middleweight crown.
Look at it like this. Either you're a lamb or you're a wolf. I chose to be the wolf. Because I don't know the experience, I don't know the feeling of being a lamb, but I know that a lamb don't have a chance in hell.
It all started behind bars. Bernard Hopkins, a Philly street kid with a rap sheet longer than a Kensington alley, landed in Graterford Prison in 1983, convicted of armed robbery, among 9 felonies that could have locked him away for life.
When I was 15 years old, I got into a fight. You're in the same area, you're in the same neighborhood, it's not hard to find you. Well, he stabbed me 2 times. If I didn't jump back, it's a natural reaction.
Stabbed 3 times as a teen, once nearly fatal, he'd danced with death before the law caught up. Sentenced to 18 years, he walked free after 56 months, paroled at 23 with a vow to never return. Inside those concrete walls, boxing became his lifeline. Honing his fists in the prison gym, he scrapped his way into a state championship, turning survival into a science that would one day humble Trinidad's perfect streak.
I survived. I wasn't a hunter anymore, but I wasn't the prey, but I survived. My boxing in prison made Bernard Hopkins respected the same way that I got respect in the city.
Now at 36, with 14 title defenses under his belt, he stood toe-to-toe with Trinidad's perfect streak, a hunger forged in concrete and steel, ready to humble the unbeaten king. Felix Trinidad was a world apart from Bernard Hopkins, a prodigy who grew up with boxing as his birthright, stepping into the ring at 5 under his father's iron grip, and turning pro at 17 with a champion's polish. While many pegged him as Puerto Rico's next golden son, a torchbearer for Wilfredo Gomez's legacy, while Hopkins scrapped from a prison cell to a middleweight crown at 36, Trinidad had scaled stardom's heights by 28, his fists carving a path through 3 divisions without a single scar. His amateur days were a clinic, 5 national titles by 14, a 52-6 record that screamed destiny. At 17, he'd already KO'd grown men, a teenager with a man's power and no taste of defeat. And while Trinidad carried no losses, his wins were the stuff of legend, hailed as masterpieces in their time. From outclassing the untouchable Pernell Whitaker to dethroning the golden Oscar de la Hoya and smashing William Joppy's reign, Trinidad was at the peak of his powers with a stretch of victories that roared invincibility. The night arrived on the 29th of September in 2001, as the seasoned steel of Hopkins glowed in the ring and Trinidad's invincible streak blazed. It was set in stone that either a battle-hardened warrior would unify the middleweight crowns and cement his claim as an all-time great, or an unbeaten titan with a stacked legacy was about to become even more untouchable.
Sometimes it means real fireworks from the opening bell.
Me at all.
Hard right hand over the top by Hopkins.
Trinidad likes to have room when he throws his punches. It's up to Hopkins. This
Gets up on that front foot.
He's on the mark. And Hopkins' job is to keep him off the mark. Bernard Hopkins want to keep hugging and pushing this guy. There
Right hand inside by Bernard. Hopkins again lands a right. Trinidad, round one is a bit of a scuffle. Hopkins got a little of what he... It wasn't even a highly artistic first round.
Trinidad. You really want to make Trinidad throw.
Be way outside or way inside.
Yeah, he just hasn't figured out this guy yet.
So Trinidad threw a limited number of punches for him in round one. Hopkins sticks the...
Talking the talk, now you got to jump on it. Knowing that he's intent.
Hard right hand by Hopkins. Biggest blow of the fight.
With a razor-sharp right hand at the bell, Hopkins jolts Trinidad backward, and in that split-second shock, the unbeaten titan feels the first sting of the executioner's cold steel.
Hopkins 10 out of 40. Trinidad...
Get back on him and do something.
Work the jab. He tries to get started with it here.
When you see him up on his right foot like that, he's on
Leading with the left hook there instead of the jab. Now Trinidad.
and he paid for it. That's a fight that Hopkins.
And then bet the 100,000.
Here in round three.
But Bernard Hopkins isn't fading, as well as brawl, whatever his reputation.
That step to the right and rush in. Tito put him on the way out.
Trinidad opens up, lands two power shots. Hopkins tries to fire back immediately. Trinidad misses with the right. Hopkins lands his own. Backs Tito up. He has begun to fire here in round four, but Bernard Hopkins
Off the neck, off that.
as Trinidad.
The right hand fails there.
Hard right hand by Hopkins, lands flush, and has done a brilliant job of training Hopkins throughout his career. Continually moving to his left to stay away from Trinidad's left.
Hopkins is not making the mistake that Bernard
Of standing in front of Trinidad. He hasn't done much of that.
Yeah, but Hopkins has used a lot of his footwork, legs up, moving around. That's not good.
He's got his back against the ropes. He's living dangerous.
With a low blow and a clash of heads, Trinidad's desperation boils over. But as the ref pulls them apart, Hopkins turns the fiasco into fuel, landing jabs that sting deeper than the fouls, humbling the Titan's perfect shine with gritty resolve.
He's not going to ask the referee to change things. He'll take it into his own hands.
This is the kind of champ, Trinidad, that you're going to have to knock him out to win it.
So you're saying that Bernard shouldn't fool himself into low punch output by CompuBox numbers. Now Trinidad lands a big right hand against the ropes, but Hopkins steps away. Remember Trinidad's amazing stamina. Hopkins lands a right, Trinidad lands a left. Marathon runner who builds the tempo from round to round, and he's trying to build it with the left hook right here. 4 straight left hands by Trinidad.
Oh, yes, there are a lot of signs.
But
Too many
Trinidad's
signs.
cornering him.
And laid his legs flat out. Trinidad is still sitting in a sitting position.
Hopkins looks pretty good here as he...
Because every time he hits you, you are still lingering on. The damage lingers on.
Trinidad ripping left hooks now.
Trinidad, aggressive, perhaps a little.
4 rounds to 2. 58-56. Bernard Hopkins.
Hopkins trying to load up with that quick right hand. Catches you in that exchange, it's trouble time.
More and more, George.
But Hopkins is giving him the left hook because it's making him keep it flat. That's what you want. If he's going to hit you, let him. Ooh, fainting.
Chopping right hand.
Oscar De La Hoya exposed the vulnerability of Trinidad.
Numbers, Hopkins landed 18 punches to only 6 for Trinidad. CompuBox numbers, Hopkins has outlanded.
He hasn't had a lot of big television fights. A geriatric wonder.
Tito gets him against the ropes.
I'd like to see what happened in the 10, 11.
Round 8 has Bernard Hopkins' infinite mastery on show, as he outboxes, outlands and outmaneuvers the great Felix Trinidad before him. While Trinidad lands decent blows from time to time, the bout has seen him outlanded in every round so far, highlighting Hopkins' dominance.
At 36, still.
Harold Letterman gave Tito Trinidad the first round. I think
That's where he can ring home if he can just get him in.
the biggest thing,
1 ounce. Maybe he should have.
You know,
without a single penalized foul.
A shot.
The closest we came was Trinidad elbowing Hopkins. Bowie Fischer tells Bernard Hopkins if he keeps firing the jab.
Left hand now. That's what he's been trying to do all night. Overhand.
Shot on Hopkins' neck. Bernard lands a
Hit him with the right hand and move out of the way.
and there's another big right hand.
To get you some more, hit you and get out of the way.
And another right hand for Hopkins. Not allowing himself to get into the heat of Trinidad's passion. Trinidad Sr. said, yes, you are.
I think
7 rounds to 2, 88-83. Bernard Hopkins first every time he lays the jab at a straight right. I think Felix would come in on an angle.
he expects that somewhere along the way, it will pay the difference. And if it doesn't,
But he hasn't hurt Hopkins. After the Joppy fight, there seemed to be no question about Trinidad's viability.
Trinidad is spending a lot of himself. We're seeing
That's the match he won.
of a real champion in Trinidad because he's come through some
The
serious.
determination of Felix Trinidad.
Trinidad is going to have to take some chances.
And
if
it's
he
being
wants to.
Round 10 turns wild as Hopkins unleashes a furious flurry, rocking Trinidad to the ropes, and as the bell rings, both keep swinging.
14 times in his career. Trinidad 8 on Harold Letterman's scorecard as we come to the last 2 rounds.
With him, he's still that powerful puncher.
Good uppercut by Hopkins. This is another trying to lift their man. Hopkins just keeps pounding away. Astonishing.
He's bound to disappoint you.
Big right hand
He
by
hasn't
Hopkins.
disappointed us, Larry.
Now let's see what he's got for what might be
1 and 6. All the rest of Bernard Hopkins boxing beautifully from the outside.
Get out.
Hopkins imposing his will and his skill on the man who is tonight the lesser fighter. Oh, huge right hand. Huge right hand by Hopkins. He's never been knocked out. This fight is over. Steve Smoker stops it.
Hopkins has achieved his most remarkable win thus far, and his standing in boxing has soared from a gritty contender to watch out for to a force that should be feared, respected, and dissected by boxers and boxing fans alike. He'd go on to cement his legacy with a record 20 middleweight title defenses, toppling stars like Oscar de la Hoya before chasing light heavyweight glory into his 50s. At 49, he'd claim the WBA light heavyweight crown, proving the executioner's steel cut deeper than time itself. Trinidad felt the sting of his first defeat that night, and his aura in boxing shifted from an untouchable titan to a warrior forced to face his limits, still admired but no longer invincible in the eyes of fans and foes. He'd return with a vengeance, scoring knockouts over Ricardo Mayorga and others to reclaim some shine, but the losses piled up, 3 more by 2008. At 35, he'd hang up the gloves, his reign as Puerto Rico's golden son humbled but never forgotten.